Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live, and we are going to talk about some CSS corrections today. There's a couple I want to show you that are pretty important. When you think about fixing your CSS, there's typically three things that can go wrong. First, your timing's off. That's probably the number one reason. So the pull, the breathe, the kick, the glide, are all off as far as timing. So top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide, breathe during that bottom arm pull. So that can be off, which I'll show you the timing that's worked. But even if you got timing right, you can still be screwing this up by popping your head up too much or having a weak kick. So you need to fix your kick. Um, what are some other ones? Just really bad streamline body position. I would say probably number one, that's the biggest issue most non-swimmers have is understanding streamlined body position in the water. Um, so we got to work on that, and sometimes that's a mobility issue with the shoulders, especially. And you'll see a case like that this morning when I show you some CSS critiques. I guess that's the biggest ones. Kicks, popping up to breathe, timing's wrong, and streamlined body position, whether that's in the glide or in the arm recovery itself, like you're way out here when you're recovering. Probably the final piece would be not understanding this. You need to be underwater when you swim most of this. If you're plowing the surface, that surface tension is just going to be like swimming with the brakes on. So you definitely need to focus on where your body is in the water and your overall positioning. So just to recap some of the things that happen in the water, you want to stay straight as you can in the water. And if you pop your head up, your body's going to kind of act like a seesaw, and now you're plowing the water, versus spearing the water, right? Staying horizontal. So you want to turn to breathe, not pop up to breathe. So think of it like a screwdriver versus a seesaw, basically. Um, Whenever you're breathing, those are probably the biggest issues that I see when people submit videos. And if you ever want to submit a video, just send it to me. Most people can send me a video by email, stu@stusmith.com. A lot of people send it to me by um, Instagram DM, or they post it up on YouTube and send it to me as a link. So either way, I am happy to review your CSS and fix it for you. I mean, I've seen guys go from not being able to swim the CSS to, being 8 minutes in a matter of a couple of months. Um, so it can happen. It can happen. Then there's other things you have to work on after this 500. That'll get you 2 buds, but it won't get you through buds because there's a whole lot of pool skills such as treading water and underwater swims. And then the biggest is every week you're going to have a 2-mile ocean swim with a pair of scuba fins. You'll take that 500 a few times throughout your journey to get 2 buds. And once you're at buds, you'll never take it again after that first week, first day in prep or whenever you take it. It's going to be 2-mile ocean swims starting from the start. So if you guys are digging these videos, just smash that like button. I appreciate it. Pass it on to folks. We are looking for questions. So if you have questions, send them, and I am happy to answer them. If you don't, I will go right into the CSS critique. When in second phase, do you do the 5.5 nautical mile swim? Used to be second phase. Now it's done at the island in third phase. I did it probably like fourth or fifth week of second phase back in the 90s, but they've moved it to the island ever since. Third phase. I think it's at the island. I could be wrong, but I know they do it in third phase. All right. I don't know what week. It's just, you just do it. It's not anything that you really prepare for. It's just one of those things. It's not even a gut check. It's just, you just do it. If anything, it's boring because you've been swimming 2 mile ocean swims forever, and it's not, I don't know what week they do the 14-mile run, but once again, that's not a big deal either. It's just do it. Nobody fails it. Um, you talk a lot about difference between getting to and through training because those tests are so different. What are your thoughts on having a PST more similar to that of what to expect at Buds? Well, it's kind of different. Can't do that. The PST is really just there to make sure you know how to swim, you can run, and you have some upper body strength. Yes, should there be a more all-encompassing test that maybe engages strength, load bearing durability like a ruck or something? Sure. But you know there's not many programs out there that has a entry level PT test that matches the selection. They're not going to put you under a 20-mile ruck if you're trying out for Army SF, before you start Army SF. They're not going to have you swim 5 miles with a pair of fins on before you go to Bud. So that's just the way it is. So, you know, unfortunately, not a lot of people understand that. They think that just getting to the training and doing this PST is going to get them through the training. But if you're not practicing 4 mile timed runs and 2 mile ocean swims and put a little lift under there, if you don't have a background of lifting, to just be a little stronger underneath the boats and logs, and then other pool skills from treading to underwater swimming to drown proofing practice, just being comfortable in the water. That's what gets you through training. It would take forever to do a test that actually helped you get through training. I have an article that I wrote a while back ago, um, and did a podcast on it too. And what we did is we broke down all the scores that you need on not just the PST, but also the lifts, the runs, the rucks, the longer swims, all those things. And it's called Physical Assessment Tools for To and Through Selection. Physical Assessment Tools for To and Through Selection. It's a good one. Check that out. And you'll see where you need to be on other activities to get through the training. To the training's easy, right? But that still crushes a lot of people, and a lot of people can't even get to the training. But then once you get to the training, only 20% graduate or less. So obviously, if you're just focusing on getting to the training, getting through the training's not going to work for you. It's just 3 phases of tactical fitness is all it is. It's phase 1, prepare for that test to get to the training. You got to get accepted. Phase 2, you have to work on the individual events that make up your selection as best you can. And then number 3, you're an active duty operator. Now you got to maintain your fitness to be able to do your job, work off stress, all those things. So it becomes longevity. If you want to make it a career, you got to address those type of issues. So each phase is totally different. A lot of people confuse which ones to do. You have any swim related benchmarks other than swim test for your water related SOF guys before they ship? Treading, finning, long swim. Yeah, if you look at that assessment tool, um, There's a 10-minute tread, no hands. There's 2-mile swim or 1,000-meter swim, and we usually try to get like 17 minutes. I think you have 21 minutes to fail it. Maybe 22. We try to get it in 17 or less. 2-mile ocean swims or 2-mile swims, 4,000 yards. Try to do that in between 70, 75 minutes. If you can get closer to 60, even better. But yeah, there's on that list, I list them. Do officers get more attention from instructors at buds? Yeah, I would say. I mean, you get basically, here's the deal. When you're an officer going through buds, you have all the responsibility but no authority, basically. I mean, you have authority within the class and regular Army, I mean, Navy ranking issues, but as far as being in charge of anything, really the instructors are in charge. You just have to get your class to where they need to be on time. And when you're under a boat or under a log, you should be, controlling that evolution on how people perform, how people put out, how people transition from one event to another, timing, because everything's all about timing and being a good team when you're under a boat and log. And sometimes that requires some communication from the officers. And if you're not providing that to your team looks like crap. Yes, you will get singled out for being a crap officer, at least under the boats. Maybe you have some other redeeming qualities, but yeah, you tend to get more attention. I did, especially as class leader. That was awful. Um, but fun too, because I never really worried about myself. I was always worried about 20 other things all throughout the day. So it kind of takes the burden off of being self-involved, and you're so worried about everything else that's going on, from head counts to everybody's got the right gear, all that stuff. So it's got its pluses and negatives, I would say. Is there anything specific to Navy EOD to train for besides the PSC human performance test? Should I go for Bud's time hacks events? Not a bad idea to go for that. I will say this though, their pool, Bud's, their dive prep pool challenges are really tough. If you're not good at treading with weight, treading with fins, treading without fins, underwater swims, um, you're going to have a hard time getting through, some of those phases at dive school. It's really tough. So make sure your water focus is top notch. You still need to run well, still need to PT well, but it's not as big of a running game um, as it is at Buds. Still run, but not the crazier mileage. What would you do? What would be the natural progression of some of your routines? I assume running through fall, winter, spring, summer should be done before unit specific routines you have. Sometimes, it really depends. It depends on where you're coming in to this journey as a former athlete, what your current scores are, what your goals are, what your branch of service selection is. All of those things matter. Um, just remember that pretty much any of my bud specific or um, SF specific, recon, Army, Air Force, PJ specific programming, those are pretty advanced courses. So you can't just jump into those as a beginner. You probably need to, work your way up. Something that I always suggest for folks is start off with that calisthenics and cardio workout. Um, might have some of those. No, I don't. Um, these seasonal fitness programs, spring, summer, fall, Winter lift cycle. It kind of depends on where your weaknesses are. I would start off where your weaknesses are and then kind of fine tune the weaknesses to be less of a weakness, then hit the harder ones. Go with the Navy, EOD diver PST type program. But it's more than just PST program. I mean, that program is basically a to and through cycle where you'll focus, yes, on the PST, but you'll also be doing longer swims with fins. You'll be doing longer runs for timed runs, as well as some load bearing activities too. So, um, once again, it kind of depends. The best answer I can give you is email me and tell me your athletic history, and then I can kind of guide you, like given your natural strengths that you're bringing to the table that usually come with certain weaknesses. Focus on those weaknesses and then go into the once you've kind of cleared those up, go into the actual specific program. Ever do the steam engine exercise? Nope. I've actually never heard of it. Um, on the same topic of officers, is it common for there to be issues between officers and enlisted, and especially when lots of new enlisted guys are civilian, ex-athletes, and not used to military rank structure? Well, there's also some officers that aren't used to military rank structure. They have maybe 4 months of OCS under their belt. They're pretty new to the military as well. Unless they're academy guys. But even then, the academy guys are college students that have some military training as well. So it's you're going to be there with some natural leaders, and you're going to be there with some that aren't good leaders. Um, I think any good officer going through SEAL training will open up discussion in the boat and log, in your boat crew to anybody that sees or has a better idea of how to do something. They should communicate that towards, and then figure out a way to do that. Most of the time the officer is going to be calling out down, up, down, up. So you're staying together, especially when you got a log on your chest and you're doing lunges for a quarter mile or more. Um, that's all about timing. So somebody needs to be doing that. Um, I'll be honest with you. I, I didn't even really bother learning people's names for I tried that first week, and then everybody that I'd learned was gone, and I was like, "Good lord!" So basically, until Hell Week, you know, once we got our Hell Week boat crew, we were pretty tight then. But I mean, it's a mass exodus of people in those first 3 weeks, and be honest with you, it's hard to keep track of the amount of people that started and the amount of people that finish Hell Week 4 weeks later. So, I mean, you may lose 100 people in that time. Even if you just come in there with like 130, um, you're going to lose a lot of people. So it's very difficult at the beginning to keep track of everybody's. Basically, everybody's a head count, right? It's a number versus a name. Um, and then you start to get to know people, and both officers and enlisted alike. I mean, enlisted guys and officers too may have three different roommates before they even get to Hell Week because people are just getting dropped. So there's a lot of confusion at the very first month of buds. I think that's part of the system. You just got to be able to just roll with it and keep moving, and stay communicating to your boat crew, and try to be a good team. Whenever somebody's in the boat crew that is like trying to get people to quit, I think that is one of the most toxic things you can do at buds is be a student and act like an instructor. I think that just sets you up on a really bad course of, you set your reputation starting there, and imagine if you're one of those guys that you're getting tried to kick out and he's like tough as hell and doesn't feel like getting kicked out and or quitting. And you got to work together, you know, the rest of buds and SQT, and then you get sent to the same team. I mean, that's just it's not condoning what team life really should be. So there are some problems that sometime occur, and it seems to be a recent generational thing, probably the last 4 or 5 years of that stuff going on. Um, Back in my day, it was like, you were as fast as your slowest person, and then at the end of the day, you as the officer had a discussion with that guy and say, "Hey, look, man, you're really killing us out there under the boat. You need to think about this. Either bring your A game tomorrow or don't, and think about doing something else." Right? That's how I did it. I'm not sure that's how everybody does it, but that's how I did it, and we actually had a really good boat crew that crushed stuff. Boat crew too. It's a good boat crew. Hey Stu, I'm former DT, preparing for the mile and a half. I'm around 13:23. Run 2 miles a day, but my time doesn't seem to improve much. How should I improve my mile and a half? Well, I would run those 2 miles a day faster. So if you're running, a 9-minute mile for 2 miles, you're going to get good at running 9-minute miles. You need to push it a little harder. And I would say if you're at a 13 now, I'd say your next logical goal would be an 8-minute mile or a 12-minute mile and a half. So your 2-mile runs should be at that 8-minute mile pace. Now you can throw one day in there and mix in some sprints if you want. But what I would do is instead of just running 2 miles steady, run 8 quarters at 2 minutes each with maybe 100-meter walk in between, and start learning what a 8-minute mile pace feels like. Eventually, you'll be able to pull those things together and get yourself a half mile in 4 minutes, and then a mile in 8 minutes. The next thing you know, you got yourself a mile and a half in 12 minutes. And then after that, break it down again. Let's try to hit a 7-minute mile and see if you can hit a 10:30 mile and a half. So it's going to take some time, especially if you're a heavy defensive tackle. I'm assuming that's what DT is. If you're a heavier guy, running is not easy. So I would try to find a goal pace and practice that pace as much as you can. Good question. All right, so let's do this. Before I go into the next question, let me share a swim video, and we'll do our first swim video. So I'm assuming you guys can see this. So kick off the wall. All right, so already right from the start, I can say, damn, you need to work on some shoulder and elbow mobility, because that is not very streamlined, right? Streamlined is going to be more like arms straight and one hand on top of the other, like squeezing your ears. I would squeeze my ears, but my headphones are in the way. Squeezing your ears with your biceps. That's going to, believe it or not, it's going to make a big difference off the wall. You kick hard off that wall, you will torpedo off of that wall really fast. Kick off the wall. It's like he's got a decent double arm pull. Not bad. Could be better. It looks more like a jumping jack. Like when you see guys do this, right? This is basically a big jumping jack pull, right? Kind of multi-directional. Think of it more like a muscle up, right? Grab water, like reaching over a barrel and pulling together. All right, so this isn't bad. Timing is top arm, bottom arm, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Okay, there's a problem. This is why it's so slow and it's over a minute long, is you're just over gliding. So if you notice, every time you glide to that 4th Mississippi, you pretty much stop. And if you'd pull at 3, not even say 3rd Mississippi, if you pull at 3, you probably still be going like pretty decent speed still. So let's see. Well, not yet. Got to turn around faster too. That's takes way too long to turn around. All right. Not bad transition. All right. So, okay, you got a little breaststroke thing going here. So let's see. Top arm, bottom arm, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Yeah. So you just stop. Your back hits the surface. It's all, you're just putting on the brakes so many ways by overgliding, back scraping the water. Yeah, this is just a lot of drag going on. So notice this though. Chances are you're not a swimmer, right? You did not grow up swimming. I mean, other than maybe playing Marco Polo in your backyard swimming pool. But that breaststroke kick right there is not very effective, especially coming from a non-swimming athlete, and you're not going very far. So my first suggestion would be to look at the link in the description of this video, and you'll see a link in there called Fix Your Kick. But you got pretty good timing other than the overglide. But the yeah, I think the kick's just weak, and you need to work on that streamline. So the better streamline you have, the further you're going to glide, the faster you're going to glide. So I would say fix your kick, try a scissor kick. If you're a land athlete, scissor kick's probably going to work better for you because you're not really going very far with that kick. But it's not overall though, it's not horrible, right? You actually got the gist of the combat swimmer stroke down. It's just not that fast for you. All right, let's see what's going on. You think it's important to be efficient at the egg beater for treading or breaststroke kick, which is more effective? Well, the egg beater is nothing more than an alternating breaststroke kick. So if you think about it, the breaststroke kick is your frog kicking. You're kicking with your inside of your feet to the bottom of the pool. So you go up. The egg beater is nothing more than a alternating version of that. So the other actual kick is the scissor kick. So you go scissor kick left, scissor kick right. Both of those are fine. In fact, I didn't know the egg beater till I was 25 years old, and, at the teams. So I got through buds with strictly scissor kicking. Wasn't easy, but still got through it. Egg beater is definitely something that's going to require you to learn some flexibility, mobility stretches that will get you in a better tread position. Let's see, let me find this article. Yeah, check out this article here. I'll put it in the description. But these are some videos on the egg beater, scissor kick combo, as well as some stretches that will help you get into a better egg beater kick. I personally like to diversify my kicks. I'll do an egg. I'll start off with a breaststroke kick, for a little while. Then I'll go into an egg beater. That gets boring. I'll go into a scissor kick left, scissor kick right, and I just like changing up multiple kick options. Just it diversifies it, and also I find it's less taxing on certain muscle groups. You can actually change muscle groups. Even if you had a cramp, like in your calf or something, you could change up your kick a little bit to relax it a little. Hey, about midway through your spring summer cycle, I started a little late and pretty much took 2 weeks off. Got COVID. Oof. Should I start fall winter vice waiting? No, No, go ahead and finish it. If you, well, I would say this. It depends. How are you feeling with the runs and the high rep calisthenics? If you feel like you're done, you need a break, go into the lift cycle, or fall transition into the winter lift cycle. That may be something you need, because I will tell you there are times here when we are doing really well with the cows and cardio and everybody's digging it. So we'll extend it a couple of weeks. Like typically fall is this week. I think it starts tomorrow. No, Thursday. So it starts Thursday officially. But I probably won't start the fall cycle until maybe after the first week of October. So I'm going to go do a couple more weeks of runs. We may mix in some lifts. Like today, we added in some bench press and some dumbbell work into our calisthenics. But it's just a kind of an easy transition out of all the high rep stuff. But if you feel like you need to continue the high rep stuff because you're not doing well with some of the PT test type elements, then extend that until you're finished and then go into the fall winter lift cycle, um, until you're ready to start running with a running progression in the spring again. Though you will never stop running. It's just you run less and differently in the winter. These officer questions seem to neglect the contributions of some of the NCOs in the class who should be assisting the officers. Tom, I would agree with you 100%, but here's the deal. There really are no NCOs at Buds, right? I think that um, the officers are typically ensign or lieutenant JG, 01, 02. Every now and then you might have a lieutenant. The NCOs might go up to an E5. Most of them are all E3s and E4s. Most of them are E3s. So I think you're right. I think the NCO, like bring a guy in from the fleet to be, the leading petty officer is very helpful. Like I had a really good, he was a diver, E5, that was the LPO, and that made all the difference in the world because it wasn't just me being the hammer. If I had to be the hammer, the LPO is a great example for that. That's a very good point, Tom. Unfortunately, the way Buds is structured is it's mostly guys from the street that go to Buds. Like they are just finishing boot camp. You might have 5% that come from the fleet, but most of them come from the boot camp. And most of the officers are fairly new. You get a few lateral transfers in. Um, it's it's a weird thing, like in the Marine Corps and the Army, the transition into special ops is there because you can go infantry and you can learn how to shoot, you can move and patrol and do all these things that are special ops related jobs, just in a bigger conventional force. But there's nothing in the Navy that prepares you for Navy special warfare, right? There's no job on a boat that's going to make you a better SEAL. There's no progression that's goes logically into that. I mean, maybe rescue swimmer and diver and then into SEAL, that would be a logical progression, and there's a lot of people that do that. But overall, the transition to go to Buds is you're pretty fresh, and it's probably why it's the attrition rate so high. I don't necessarily think that school is the hardest thing ever. It is one of those things that is difficult, but I think the lack of maturity and the lack of experience for the students determines a lot of that attrition. Great point, though. 100% right. And once you're in the teams, absolutely. You have LPOs and you have guys that are veterans that are senior enlisted that are able to really drive the show with you. I feel my weakness is absolute cardio, mostly running. It can be extremely inconsistent. Yeah. It can be a weakness when you're inconsistent. That is for sure. Swimming and suffering too. But should I double down on spring, summer, or cows and cardio versus fall and winter? You know what? I tend to focus on where your weaknesses are. There's no reason why you need to do a winter lift cycle in the winter, right? If you're weak, you can do this all summer and try to get stronger, right? Um, same goes for the spring, summer, right? If you're strong and you need to focus on your cows and cardio and muscle stamina and endurance, you can do this all winter, right? There's nothing really that says you have to do this in the spring and summer or the fall or winter. It is really up to you. Now, in my system, we tend to do all the cows and cardio and endurance and muscle stamina focus in the spring and summer, try to maintain some strength in there with a few lifts. But then the the backside of that, when the fall and winter, we focus more on the lifting and a little less joint impact of running and high rep calisthenics. So treat it as you wish and don't feel like you have to be doing it when I'm doing it. It's up to you, really. If there's anything I can teach as a coach, that is probably one of the most important things is you do you. If you're weak and you need to lift, you should probably be lifting. If you are strong and need to work on your endurance, you should be running and swimming. Do they really do farmer walks and sled pushes at buds? No. There are some farmer walks though. You will do that in the form of injured man drills on a stretcher. So yeah, you basically just hold one end of the stretcher, three other guys hold the other ends, and you will be doing farmer walks for a very long time. Let's see. How many hours a week would you say your students are spending on your programs? 12 to 24. I'm not sure what 12 to 24 is. Are you saying like 12 to 24 as the number of weeks? What about including things like recovery, mobility? I'm active duty, trying to make sure I'm giving. 100%. Well, I mean, if you notice in any of these programs, there are actual days devoted to mobility and recovery. There's a mobility day right there. Right there. Mobility day. Right? Every week, but at the end of every day, there's also mobility work and flexibility work. But, it's also not 7 days a week either. It's 6 days a week with one day being an easy day, mobility recovery day, but those days are also technique days. You're working on treading, you're working on pool skills. You're working on things that require some technique and mobility to increase that technique is very important, especially when you can't get into an egg beater position and you need to practice stretching your hips, knees, and ankles. Um, so yeah, it's all mixed in there together. I've had people on my programs for years before they go to buds. Um, so it's not just like a 12-week program. I mean, you can try it to do it in 12 weeks and see where you are, but typically most people find that they're not quite as prepared as they need to be unless you are like a multi-talented, multi-sport athlete that has a great athletic history. I have seen a few guys do like 12 weeks of SEAL based training, but they were also wrestlers, lacrosse players, and they swam in the summer on like a rec team. And they didn't need my help for very much at all, other than just some specific training to get through that PST. And they were ready. They were ready to go to Buds 12 weeks later. In fact, one of the fastest I've ever seen a guy start and finish with me was 3 months. But, he spent 5 years preparing for Buds because he was wrestling and he was playing lacrosse and he was swimming and doing other workouts. So all I did was just say, here's how you do the combat swimmer stroke. Here's how you focus on scoring a little more on your calisthenics, run a little faster on your timed run. Let's teach you how to swim with fins. Boom. He was off, crushed it. All right. So, I don't take credit for that. I don't take credit for any of it because I'm not holding your hand when you're going through Buds. You are, or any selection for that matter. I give you some tools, build you up so you have some confidence in your abilities as well as you have some abilities. And then you're going to go get tested, and it's all you out there. So people call me up and say thank you for you know helping them get through Buds, and I tell them I didn't help you get through Buds. You got through Buds, not me. Sorry, I changed my topic there a little bit. Tips for training boats on headland portage. Check out this article because I actually wrote a article. I'm gonna laugh at the title of this because you could have gone to Google and typed that in that same question probably, and it's called "How to Strengthen Your Neck for Boats on Heads." But yeah, check out that article. Most of it is really geared towards general load bearing, so you need some strength. Um, I personally didn't lift weights for 2 years prior to Buds, or at least 18 months prior to Buds, because I grew up lifting. I was pretty strong. However, I needed more muscle stamina endurance, so that's what I focused on prior to Buds. And actually, year and a half, 2 years later, I was actually a pretty good Buds candidate because of that. Um, but I never felt like I got crushed under the boats, so I didn't feel like I needed to lift. Most former strength guys don't lose a lot of strength pound for pound. Um, but if you don't run for a week, it's like you never started. So we come into this game with strengths and weaknesses as well. So I really didn't do anything to prepare for boats and logs and headland portage. It was just part of my 10 years prior to Buds that made me a little durable to handle that. Um, However, if you don't have that as a athletic history, you can definitely add it with rucking on sand, working some sandbags while you run, um, and just carrying the load. Get a little stronger in the weight room too, so that doesn't hurt you. But the good news is, after Hell Week, you'll never touch another boat and log again, which is very satisfying, right? That you put away the boats and logs and you know that you're not going to touch them ever again, unless you really screw up. I've seen a few second phase classes go out there and grab the boats and logs, but it's very rare. You have to really screw up bad to see boats and logs again. Then it really turns into more of a triathlon focus of running, swimming, and obstacle courses and calisthenics more than anything for the remaining 22 weeks. I'm not that strong yet, but I'm not fast in running and fast in swimming. Can I just combine both throughout the year before I go to buds? Here's the problem. Like, it's really hard to improve your running and swimming while you're lifting heavy, right? It's really hard to improve your lifting while you're running and swimming heavy, right? So that's why I kind of break it up, because some of the elements of fitness that work really well together when you're in a progressive improvement cycle is calisthenics or muscle stamina in the form of calisthenics or high rep lifting, and cardio, running, swimming, rucking. Those work, endurance and muscle stamina work real well together. Strength, power, speed, and agility also work real well together. Think preseason football training. Those work real well together. That tends to be my fall and winter cycle. In the spring and summer, I tend to break it down into the endurance, muscle, stamina cycle with a maintenance of the other, right? There's still a maintenance of endurance and muscle stamina even when we're lifting, but I'm not trying to improve my endurance and muscle stamina when I'm lifting. I'm trying to improve my strength and power. Same on the back end of spring and summer. I'm trying to improve my running speed and my swimming speed and my high rep calisthenics. I'm not trying to improve my overall strength at the same time. It's very difficult to do that, if not impossible. Now, we'll say this, very easy to maintain all of those at the same time. So once you've gotten to a certain level, maintaining all of them with, yeah, I mean, you can go run, swim, and lift the same day if you wanted to. You're just maintaining it. You're not trying to necessarily improve your 1 rep max or improve your mile time, right? Because you're done. You're done with that kind of timed events to get through a selection until it's time to get through another selection. And then you got to focus on mastering what's going to get you to and through, whether you're a SEAL going for dev group or you're, trying to do some other special ops unit, later in your career. You're going to have to go back to the specifics of that test that got you there and that, specifics of the selection that's going to get you selected. So, hope that answered your question. All right, so I'm going to move. I know this is a CSS critique day, but you guys are blowing up my questions here. Got a lot of questions here. So let me pull up another video. I had some good videos for today. This one's an interesting one. All right, starts off really good, and I'll show you here 1 second. All right, so you guys should be able to see this. Like, I'm looking at this guy kick out off the wall, and I'm like, dang, that's some really good streamlined body position. Look, his head's tucked, one hand on top of the other. I'm thinking, this is going to be really good. Let's see what happens. So he kicks off the wall. Good. Double arm pull, pops up, top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Oh, this wasn't the guy. This is actually a really good swim, but he could glide a little longer. Remember the guy that was over gliding? This one is not gliding enough, and he could be a little tighter on his recovery. Overall, he's got a good kick. He's got that scissor kick going for him. Good turnaround, really good kick off the wall. Didn't do the breaststroke pull out on this one. So top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Something I would also do is, if you notice, this top arm pull is really more of a kind of like a multi-directional sweep of your arm versus a unidirectional pull and push of water. So think about like reaching over a barrel, grabbing water, pulling it and pushing it behind you like that. That is called the freestyle catch. You need to Google that term, because this is not the freestyle catch. This is more of a, like, almost like a one-arm jumping jack, multi-directional. If you think about the force vectors that are going around, force vectors are going in a big circle, right? So you're hardly even putting any force to going forward. Half of that's pushing you sideways. The other half is going to push you forward. And the other half is going to be just pushing water into your side. So it's, very little of that stroke is actually useful until you learn how to do the freestyle catch, which is really the top arm pull of the CSS. But overall, I mean, I'm being very nitpicky on this one. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. Let's see how long he holds it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Maybe I misspoke on that one. That was not bad. Let me show you the other guy I was looking for. Maybe it's this guy. Yeah, it's this guy. I'm going to share this one as well. All right, let's see what goes on here. Let's see how the kickoff looks. I usually look at the kickoff and I can usually tell, oh, this is going to be good. All right. All right. So one thing too, if you send me a video and you can't see yourself swimming, neither can I. You should be in this first lane versus that middle lane, unless there's someone in it. But don't pick the middle lane if you have an option to swim in the first lane. All right. So what do you see going on here? So top arm, bottom arm, kick. Not sure what kind of kick he's doing. Oh, I see why he's in the middle lane now. But yeah, see, that's a breaststroke inhale. You can't do that, right? That is not turning to breathe. That is the biggest pop up to breathe I've ever seen, right? So top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Just turn to breathe. Don't pop up to breathe. And then that kick looks like you're trying to do a breaststroke kick with a bunch of flutter kicks in between. That's not going anywhere for you. That's why this is over a minute long video. So all that popping up is just basically taking you from moving horizontally to moving vertically, right? So you don't want to do a whole lot that takes you out of this horizontal motion, because every time you pop up to breathe, you quit moving horizontally and you go vertical, right? That's why I always say turn to breathe, and you never stop moving horizontally. But notice this, like when you come up to breathe here, boom, like you quit moving forward. And all those little flutter kicks, that's not sustainable. You do one breaststroke with a whole bunch of flutter kicks. There's a lot to fix on that one. You need to fix it. Did I show this one already? Yeah, I showed this one already. All right, those are the three I wanted to show you guys. I'll take a few more minutes of questions, then I need to bail. But if you're really looking for some good CSS critique, I have a page over on TikTok, StuSmith50, where that's all I do is talk about the CSS. Though we do a few drown proofing skills and things like that too, underwater swims. Most of it's all CSS, and it's me critiquing, and I get a title on it. So if you want to see a perfect CSS, go to that TikTok page and you'll see a title that says perfect CSS, smooth as fast. Whatever I title it that day, you will see countless, well, not countless, but well over 100 videos of me fixing them all at one place. And if you don't feel like downloading the app on your phone, just go to the website. It's real easy. In fact, I do it right here. This is a desktop. I don't have a what you call it, an app on my on phone. I just go straight to I just type in tiktok.com at StuSmith50. In fact, I'll put it down here. Not sure what happened there. I just added a banner. So tiktok.com at StuSmith50 right there. That'll get you to the page. In fact, I'll even share it. Let me do that. Share screen. And this is what you see. If you can see that, it's just a whole bunch of people sending me videos of the CSS, and I am trying to fix it. Like there's one of the drown proofing. Here's a perfect one.
Hey everybody, Stu Smith here with another
Just a whole
CSS
bunch of
critique, and
dudes
here we have an
swimming the
excellent
CSS.
swimmer
This is a really
showing
good
us
one.
how to.
So anyway, check those out. That's a wealth of information over there for you. If I missed your question, send it to me, Stu at Stu Smith, but I'll take a few more. Is it true that there's no longer an age limit for SEAL officers? I know it used to be 28, but I hear it's 39 now. I don't believe so. Until I see it on sealswick.com, I heard that rumor as well. But regardless, no matter who you are, you have to apply to go to SOAS, SEAL Officer Assessment and Selection, whether you are Academy, ROTC, or OCS. So if you want to be a SEAL officer and you're 35 years old, go to a Navy recruiter, tell them what you want to do, and they'll tell you. But I don't know. I've heard the rumor. I don't believe it. But there are waivers for people over 28. So I will leave it at that. Not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that I'd be surprised if the age limit is gone or changed. Or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. I was asking how many hours a week would you expect a student to spend on workouts? I would say at least, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours a day. Depending on what you're doing. If you add in a ruck, that's probably going to add in another hour, just because those take a lot of time. I typically do about 12 hours a week, sometimes 13 or 14, depending on what we're doing. I will say this, during the lift cycle, workouts are a lot shorter. They're probably anywhere from an hour to hour and a half instead of 90 minutes to 2 hours. So that's one of the neat things about the winters, just quicker workouts. So Mr. Smith, which program would better for Coast Guard PSU? Powerlifting athlete. I love the weight room. You know what? I'm not sure. I know that's a port security unit. I'm not sure what the fitness test is. If you email me and tell me, one, what the fitness test is, and two, what some of the requirements are during that training that you have to go through. I'm not sure if it's considered a selection or if it's just like an A school. Send that to me and I will be better able to assist. But coming from a powerlifting athlete background, I would probably start off with like calisthenics and cardio just to get a good foundation of muscle stamina and endurance progressively built up. There's a lot of swimming in that workout too. That's really good, especially if you're going Coast Guard. You probably will need to do that. So I would start off with calisthenics and cardio, generally speaking. But if you send me an email, give me a little more details, I can probably be a little more specific in that answer. All right. I think I answered all the questions. Oh, there's some new ones down here. Do we do any neck exercises? Yes. If you read that article that I just posted in there, you can see the neck exercises we do. They're basically anytime you're doing abs or you're laying on your back, just, side to side, up and down, like 50 each way, and then roll over on your belly, up and down, side to side, 50 each way. Your melon weighs what? 10 pounds? That's a good weight to work your neck muscles. Just hang it off the edge of your bed and go up and down with it, side to side. You know, Doesn't require a whole lot more. Wrestlers do really well with that one because what are they doing? They're always working their neck. Football players do well because they're wearing that helmet on top of it as well. So, yes. I know that Buds is very leg heavy. Yes. There's specific exercises or round of exercise that you recommend to gauge leg durability. Yes. You know what we did and we do is we will do about a 40-pound sandbag and a quarter-mile lunge workout. You just lunge for a quarter mile nonstop, and then you're done. Continue on with the rest of the workout, running, squats, you know, rucking, whatever you're doing, swimming with fins. And then the big question is, are you still sore 2 days later after doing that? Now, chances are the first time doing it, yes, you will be. But if you can get to a point where you can do 400-meter lunge with a chest carry sandbag and not be sore, that's when you know your durability and ability to recover are where they need to be. That's a good one. It's a really good one. Okay, back to the answer you gave me. Since I got a half marathon coming up, you still think I should do winter endurance, then summer lift? Jesus. I would just keep running until your half marathon's done, then go into the winter lift cycle. I mean, I don't know. I've been asked so many questions, I can't remember exactly what yours is. So you may want to send me an email, Stu Smith, to put your whole story together. Because I can't tell if you need to lift or you need to do more endurance. I don't remember. Should I do breaststroke at the PST? If you want. Should you? I wouldn't, but some people do. I suck at breaststroke compared to my CSS or freestyle. Can't do freestyle, so I do the CSS. So there you go. All right, folks, we have been here for an hour. I appreciate your time. Help me out. Crush that like button if you enjoyed it. Send me an email if I did not answer your question or did not answer it personally or specific to your situation enough. Send me a video if you need me to critique it. Happy to. And if you guys are looking for more CSS, go to TikTok, Stu Smith 50. I post those on Instagram as well. But if you're still around and you want to save some money, you can go to StuSmithFitness.com and save some money that way by using the coupon code COMPETE20. So I appreciate your time in joining me, and send me a video if you need some more help. We'll see you later. Till next week.